Welcome back to the Make Time for Success podcast. This is episode number 279. Sometimes stress really gets in our way. And because I have been working with lots of decluttering challenge participants currently, I have been directly exposed to lots of stress from the participants. And I thought, what a great reason to design an on-the-spot podcast episode that contains really important information. It contains the explanation of, one, how come we get so stressed in the first place? And two, what do we do about it so that we can actually have clarity every single day so that we no longer have to be afraid of the tasks that are on our plate and our to-do list. And I think we should get started with that conversation right now. Hi, I'm Dr. Christine Lee, and I'm a psychologist and a procrastination coach. I've helped thousands of people move past procrastination and overwhelm so they could begin working to their potential. In this podcast, you're going to learn powerful strategies for getting your mind, body, and energy to work together so that you can focus on what's really important and accomplish the goals you want to achieve. When you start living within your full power, you're going to see how being productive can be easy and how you can create success on demand. Welcome to the Make Time for Success podcast. Today's topic is essentially how to get clarity even though you've been feeling stressed. And I think that is a wonderful setup for the typical midlife woman. And I would say typical just because I have seen so many hundreds and thousands of women feeling like they want to get stuff done. They want to feel successful. They want tidy homes. They want to be managing their own energy really well. And yet they are feeling things like overwhelm, stress, shame, exhaustion, hopelessness. And that is why I'm putting together this episode's content today. The actual trigger for this episode has been the fact that I am in the midst of coaching a lot of people how to declutter. I run a 5-day challenge called Re-Energize Your Home periodically. And we just started the new session today. And what happens, I think, at the start of every session is people are trying to get oriented, not only to the challenge, but also to the idea of actually handling their clutter. And as you can imagine, both can be a little bit daunting. People are feeling like they don't know if they're registered correctly. They don't know what I'm going to ask of them. They don't know if they're going to have success inside the challenge. And that doubt causes this feeling of additional stress, which is, of course, not what I'm intending for anyone who participates in any program that I run or host. So if you yourself are thinking, oh, this kind of rings a bell, I am trying to get this done, this goal of mine finally checked off my to-do list, but I keep running up against the same feelings of overwhelm, feelings of embarrassment, feeling like I'm sabotaging myself somehow, then I would love for you to keep listening to what I'm about to tell you, because I do think that feeling of anticipatory anxiety or stress, it's normal because you've got work to do and your body's kind of gearing you up for something new, for something perhaps even difficult or challenging. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with you if you're feeling that kind of stress. Where that comes or becomes problematic is when that stress becomes this constant in your life. It doesn't just happen when you've got a new thing that you're about to face. It is more like a day-to-day companion when you wake up feeling stressed, when you go to bed feeling like you haven't alleviated any of the stress. This is the situation that I would like to help you correct and minimize and maybe even do away with today. And I think it's quite possible. And that's the good news. So when you think about it, if we are hanging on to this feeling like I'm not good enough, my time isn't enough, my energy isn't sufficient, I'm stuck in this overwhelm, it is no wonder that we have clutter. It is no wonder that we have overdue things. It is no wonder that we're kind of stressed out by the fact that our weekends are going to be busy, because when are we going to be able to catch up, in quotes, on all these things? It feels like this speeding train of overwhelm. The more the days pass, the more overwhelmed we get. But we need to take our time back and we need to reduce the stress so that we can get clarity back. And I want to let you know that if you're listening to this episode, you've got clarity within you because you had the wherewithal to turn on this podcast, to pick my particular show to listen to, and to sit still long enough to listen to this point in the episode. That means you have the raw ability to see yourself through any problem. That is the premise that I would love for you to keep for every day from this point forward. I want you to wake up every day saying to yourself, I have the wherewithal to handle anything that I'm put in charge of, anything that I want to handle, anything that I want to learn, anything that I need to accomplish. And when you start with that mindset, you're really going to be successful. You're going to be successful against stress because you've already set your mindset at the start of the day, at the start of any project. And you've decided, I'm going to opt for calm and stability and clarity over stress, because stress is very disorienting. It makes you think, I've run out of time. I've run out of energy. I've run out of resources. I've run out of my ingenuity. And you know what? That can happen. We might one day run out of time because sometimes time is like that. We do run out of time sometimes, but you are never going to run out of options and you're never going to run out of the ability to get things done. So let's continue this conversation so I can prove my premise here. So let's say you have some clutter to manage, like all of my challenge participants do. When you are starting to say, okay, I'm finally going to face this clutter, what will probably immediately happen is you will say to yourself, but how is this possibly how am I going to start? How am I going to finish? How am I going to succeed at this gigantic task? Because maybe you have decades of clutter in your basement from people that you may not even have known personally, but that you've inherited somebody else's stuff and it's pure clutter to you. Perhaps you have downsized and you didn't get to declutter before you had to downsize. Perhaps you are working 2 jobs, raising a family, you've been ill. Other factors have taken up your time where you don't feel like you have the bandwidth to really do any bit of decluttering, let alone the entire basement. So what do you do in these situations? The first thing that I want to have you do, and I've already given you a clue about this in this episode, is I want you to clear any negativity out of your space. And that means the space in your heart and in your mind. When we are thinking negative thoughts, we are creating an extra weight in our day. And I mean WEIGHT. We are weighting ourselves down. Instead of starting at the starting line, feeling like we're at 0 or we're at the baseline or we're starting on solid ground, instead of that, we are deciding that we are behind, we are not good enough. We must be pathetic because we have this problem in the first place. We must be dreading the task ahead of us because who would want to declutter an entire basement? And all of those types of negative thoughts, feelings, and beliefs will act as a weight, weight, on your spirit of, let's just get this handled. Let's move some clutter. Let's call some people to help us out. Let's figure out where to donate the trinkets and the doodads and the old clothing. That spirit is something that you possess, but that spirit, again, can get weighted down by what is cluttering your head, your brain, your mindset. So that is the first job towards finding your clarity amidst stress. It's to make sure you are sorting through what is going on in your head. Are you being realistic? Are you seeing reality for what it is? Or are you generating a lot of terrifying stories and layering those stories on top of that basic reality? I will explain this further. Let's say you do have a basement filled with clutter. That, we're going to say, is the baseline fact. That's the reality. It's packed, it's filled, and it has clutter. But the story that you may be laying on top of that baseline reality is, I am horrified at myself that it has been 3 years and that clutter has not moved. So that may sound like reality, and maybe it is factual, but it's a story that you're horrible, because you're actually not horrible. You are just you. You are someone who chose to do other things instead of declutter. You are someone who has been very busy, likely, and have decided to keep your sanity by not decluttering, so on and so forth. So we want to, at the start of any process, including decluttering, we want to clear out those negative stories that paint us, ourselves, as shameful, irresponsible, disorganized, an embarrassment. Get rid of all those stories, because that's the real clutter. And that is the real toxicity that you're dealing with. That is why decluttering feels so horrible to most people. It's not the actual items. The items might carry some stress, but it's the feelings of negativity and awfulness that the not doing, the avoiding creates, that is toxic to us. Who wants to feel like they're behind? Who wants to feel like they can't do what is staring them down right in your own home? Nobody, really nobody wants to feel that way. That's why the clutter tends to win. That's why the clutter tends to build up over the years, because we feel like we can't touch it. We can't go near that space. We feel horribly when we get close to that space. But I want to let you know that clearing away the negativity within your heart and your mind and your spirit is the way through. It will show you that you actually do know where you want to put those clothes. You actually do know what you would use your basement for if it wasn't packed with clutter. You actually have genius level clarity when you allow yourself to see it. So decluttering isn't just about stuff. It's about getting rid of all the junk. And junk does not exist only in physical form. There's a lot of junk in our mental chatter, our emotional chatter, that clutter inside of us where we're just battling ourselves. When you stop battling yourself, that is when freedom starts to come in. You start to have great ideas. You start to feel like you have a little more enjoyment. You start to feel like your energy is rising. You start to feel whole again, WHOLE. And you start to feel like, oh, I'm not heavy. I'm not weighted down with burdens. I just have stuff I need to do. And that makes all the difference. So whether you're decluttering or completely tidy and have other things on your plate, it does not matter. What I wish for you, what I'm trying to guide you to see, is that you have clarity within you now, even on this side of the problem or the challenge, even before you've started, you have clarity. Allow that clarity to emerge. Allow yourself to be powerful again. Allow yourself to feel like a success before you even start, because that's what really matters. You're going for that feeling of success at the beginning. You might as well take that feeling of success, implant that in your heart and mind before you even begin, and then start, because then you won't be starting from baseline. You will already be starting from a winning position. And that's a very smart way to be productive. It's a very smart way to get things done. And it's a very wonderful way to alleviate your soul from this heaviness that might have been following you around for a number of years. If it has, let it go. It can dissipate in an instant. I promise you it can. It may take you a little bit longer than an instant. You might need to declutter a little bit before you really get the picture, but it will leave you when you release it. So it's our responsibility to make sure we're regulating our mindset. We are monitoring, not in a restrictive and punishing way. We are monitoring our mindset to make sure it is wide open as we can handle at any given moment. And many of us in the coaching field and elsewhere are trying to figure out how to open our minds even to a greater extent, to a point where we're exciting ourselves because we don't even really know how good it can get. That's the mindset that I would love to share with you. Instead of thinking, oh my God, how could this be any worse? I want you to translate and transfer that energy that you're using to sink yourself into heaviness into opening up yourself into lightness, into opportunity, into expansion, and into flow, where things really all are going in your favor. They're really all pointed towards your success, and you are right there playing the game right along with your good energy. You've decluttered. You've got your time back. You've cleared your mind of all the muck, heavy thoughts that were so embarrassing you couldn't even bear to tell your friend or family about those thoughts. We want to be done with that phase of our life, that phase of stress. We're now entering into a zone of clarity in our lives, and that zone is going to be amazing. Now, when you are making that shift from negativity to clarity, I want you to know that it is okay to make very small steps along the way. Do not overwhelm yourself and fall into that trap again of thinking, oh, now that I know the way, I'm going to declutter the entire house in a weekend. That's kind of setting yourself up for failure. And that's the old habit. And we're just going to kick that old habit away for good. We're going to say, you know what? This is new for me. You know what? I'm getting used to feeling awesome at the start. You know what? I'm going to declutter a little corner of the basement because that is more than enough for now. That is wonderful to start. I can't believe it's happening. I'm so excited. You're really just speaking to yourself as a coach would, rooting you on, saying all the good things, reminding you of how much progress you are making or are about to make. It's as easy as that. The only difficult thing that there is about it is slipping back into the old habits. The old habits will be knocking on your door and wanting to come back in. So just be alert to that. But now that I've said that to you, you can just chuckle when you feel like procrastinating again, or when you feel like, oh, it's of no use, because we're saying this is our life to live. It's so of use to be present, to be clear, to be stress-free, and to feel like you've got agency for anything that you find important in your day, in your months, and in your years. I hope this session, this episode, this content has been helpful to you. I no longer want you to be overwhelmed with stress. I would love for you, and I think you agree, I would love for you to feel much more like success is yours, like it's a daily enjoyment, and that you could say goodbye to stress for good now. If you'd love a free download to help you work through your patterns and get on the road to clarity for yourself, go to maketimeforsuccesspodcast.com/clarity over stress. Go to maketimeforsuccesspodcast.com/clarity over stress. It'll be a wonderful worksheet, and I hope you have a wonderful time working through whatever needs to be sorted. I will see you next Thursday when the next episode of the Make Time for Success podcast drops. Take care till then. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Make Time for Success podcast. If you enjoyed what you've heard, you can subscribe to make sure you get notified of upcoming episodes. You can also visit our website, maketimeforsuccesspodcast.com, for past episodes, show notes, and all the resources we mention on the show. Feel free to connect with me over on Instagram too. You can find me there under the name Procrastination Coach. Send me a DM and let me know what your thoughts are about the episodes you've been listening to. And let me know any topics that you might like me to talk about on the show. I'd love to hear all about how you're making time for success. Talk to you soon.